There. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. Hi there, everyone. Okay. So, for those of us who've been watching from the beginning when we first started doing these live streams, I have a different setup now. You may notice that I'm in Brittany's studio. So, I'm hoping that the audio should be good, the camera should be good. Everything should be on track today. In the event that it's not, just leave me a comment in the box. And, if you're watching on Facebook from the group page, you should have the option to follow along with captions. So hopefully everything should be good. We kind of troubleshooted everything. It was a whole ordeal, but you live and you learn, and that's how you get better at things. You just try again, you practice, and then you see what's wrong, and then you fix it till it's right. So we should all be good now. For everyone who's watching, I know there's some of us tuning in and out. Hi, guys. So today is Thursday. It's going to be a relaxing color session, and I am going to be coloring from the February monthly edition of the adult coloring book. And this is from the Pop Shop America Etsy page. So Brittany has these really cool monthly coloring books, and they're different themes depending on the month. Last month was Chinese New Year, so we did a Chinese New Year related coloring issue. This month is definitely a Valentine's Day related one, and although Valentine's Day has come and gone, that doesn't mean that you still can't be in the loving spirit. So we're going to be coloring this today, and as we do that, I'm going to go over different tips, techniques, and advice that you can use when you are coloring or when you're doing art. And by all means, if you don't have this specific book to color along with today, don't worry. You can sit down, you can draw with me, you can paint with me, you can doodle, you can take notes, whatever it is that you're doing, feel free to join in. We have a chat box here, so you can leave a comment, you can leave a question, whatever it is that you want to leave, go ahead and do that. And just enjoy it, relax, enjoy your Thursday nights if you're at home creating or if you're in the office or wherever you're at. So that's what these Thursdays are for. And we're really hoping to get a collective of creatives around and inspired so we can just kind of get together and have, this little moment of just, gratitude and creativity and just positivity going around. So with that being said, my name is Alexis. I host these every Thursday on behalf of Pop Shop America with Brittany. So I'm going to be doing tonight's class today for you guys. So also, there is going to be a coupon code per usual, and that coupon code is going to get you 15% off anything on the Pop Shop America Etsy page, and that's going to be Craft with Alex. So Craft with Alex, that's CraftWithAlex. It's all together, no caps or anything, all lowercase. Craft with Alex is going to get you 15% off anything on the website, okay? So take advantage of that. That's going to be active for the next 24 hours, okay? So starting now until 24 hours from now, you can get 15% off anything. So let's get started. Let's open this book and see what's about. So in here, we have the All You Need Is Love adult coloring book. Love is in the air. And you get a little Jolly Rancher Valentine with it as well. Super cute. So in this one, it's going to be 15 hearts and creative designs to color from. And there's going to be a quote on the front of it. It's from the Dalai Lama, and it's love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. I definitely agree with that. So that's a great quote to go and live by. And let's open it up and see what's inside. So in it, we're going to have some really cute pages, and all of these are very intricate, detailed, coloring examples you can work from. So these are really great for someone who maybe be a little more meticulous, someone who needs something to kind of maybe relax or unwind, or you want to develop your coloring skills. These books are great for you because they have so many little details, and you can just play around with those and go off of that and really get an idea of just your creativity and what you want to do. So there are a lot of options to choose from. This one's really cute. I might do that one. So again, a lot of really cool designs. Oh, we have bunnies too. So cute to play with here. And these are so fun to work with because once you're done coloring them, they're really easy to remove. So you can actually do a ton of things with these afterwards. You can frame them and use them as wall art for your home or your apartment or your studio or office. You can use them. I've seen some people do really cool things. Like I've seen them take drawings and kind of laminate them or preserve them and then use them like a wallpaper. So you can do stuff like that. You can send them to somebody, a gift, give them away. So there's a ton of cool things you can do with this. You're not limited to what's in the book or keeping them in the book, actually. So I'm going to do this one. This one spoke to me. So I'm going to color this one here. And I have today a variety of materials that I'm going to be working with. So I have color pencils today and I have markers. Now, this paper, it's going to be kind of heavy body, not too heavy body, but you can definitely use marker, you can use color pencil, you can use crayon. If you have watercolor pencils, you can do that as well too. So you can definitely play around with it and use some mixed media on it. You don't have to stick with just color pencils if you're not a color pencil artist. But for today's session, I am going to do some color pencil and some marker, and I'll teach you guys how to blend those two and kind of like play around with that as well in this process. So going over the materials that I have today, I'm going to have some student grade stuff here. So you can feel free to use whatever you have laying around. So if you have, maybe you have your kids' Crayola markers and that's all you have, that's okay. Do not feel inclined to use top tier professional quality products, because at the end of the day, if you have the skills, you can make something really cool using Crayola or, markers from your kid's backpack, honestly. So I'm going to teach you guys the techniques today, and in time you can build those into skills, because that's really what it's all about. Is you learn the techniques, you practice them, and then it turns into a skill, and then you get kind of going with how you like things and whatnot. So today I have Prismacolor Scholars. These are the student grade version of the Prismacolor pencils, the ever popular Prismacolors. We're all familiar with those. This is the student grade version of them. Still a really great quality pencil. I love these guys. So we have those. And then I have Soho 2. These are also, I'd probably consider them a student grade color pencil, but they're really high quality. I love them and they're a great price. So we have these. And I also have with me, I have two types of markers. I have alcohol-based markers and I have watercolor-based markers. So really cool. We're going to do some fun stuff with these. I'm going to show you guys how to blend with these and how to make different patterns with these. So we have some different tools that we're working with today, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So what I like to do is, if I'm going to be doing something that's like a mixed media project, so for example, mixed media would be mixing the markers with the color pencils. So that's mixed media versus just doing straight color pencil or straight marker. So those are the differences between the two. So if I'm doing something that's mixed media, what I like to do is I like to have a good understanding of my products before I use them. And you don't have to be an expert with them, okay? You just have a basic understanding of them. So, for example, something like this, I know that I can layer the color pencil on top of the markers. Now, I can't layer the markers on top of the color pencil because color pencil, when you work with them, they have a waxy texture and finish to them. So you can't take your marker and go over that because it's going to slide right off. Now, you can do it, but again, it's going to slide right off. Versus if you take your marker, you lay your marker down, you can build on top of that with your color pencil and create a lot of definition and depth and texture and just do some really cool stuff. If you've ever seen artists do, like if you've ever seen a picture and you're like, oh my God, that's with color pencil because it just looks so realistic and just, out of this world. A lot of times artists will use that technique of just kind of layering that base with the marker and then, or adding that base with the marker and then layering the color pencil on top of it. So that's a cool little tip that you can use when you're working with your pieces in the future. And I do that with a lot of my paintings that I do and my drawings that I do. So Fun fact there. So I'm just taking this marker, and these alcohol markers, the cool thing about them, regardless of the brand that you're using, they have a lot, they have usually like 9 times out of 10, they're going to have two tips to them. And one tip is usually like a smaller kind of refined bullet point. The other tip is either a brush tip or a chisel point. So it just depends on what brand you're using. This one that I'm using is called Concept, and this one has a bullet point and it has a chisel point at the end. So depending on the brand that you're using will determine what kind of tip that it has. And yeah, they have different purposes depending on that. This bullet point is good for fine detail. This piece right here has a ton of small, like little nooks and crannies. So I'm mostly going to be using this bullet tip for the background, just because if I use the chisel, I would be getting in and out of the lines and coloring all kinds of crazy, which I'm not trying to do that tonight. Maybe next time, but not tonight. So that's the tip that I'm using on this one, the small little bullet tip right there, and you can see that. And then the other one's gonna have that chisel tip there. So that's what I'm doing for this background right here. And I think it would be cool to kind of do a gradient on this, blend, one color to another color. I think that will be a really interesting thing to do. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that too, because that's why I'm here, to show you everything that I know. So I'm going through this, and honestly, this is just really relaxing. I've had a super long day, a good day, but a long day nonetheless. I've been painting all day and teaching, and it's been really productive. But I've been in the studio a good part of this day. So, kind of ending it on this note is definitely a good decompression for my mind, just because I've been going on fast mode all day, and this just is a moment of tranquility and a moment of peace and quiet to kind of just do my own little thing and get some creativity out. So the cool thing about being doing art full time is, because it's something that I just genuinely love to do as a hobby. It's also, I kind of unwind from work by doing more work in that sense. So this is definitely an example of that. These little coloring sheets, and it's really fun. So I definitely understand why coloring is really popular amongst children and adults, because it's one of those things that you kind of never really grow out of, and for good reason too. It helps with concentration, helps relax, helps with stress, and with creativity. Creativity is super important despite people possibly not thinking so, but working the creative part of your mind definitely helps with other aspects of your life. And it helps you feel a little more connected, helps you think a little quicker too, and just kind of think outside the box as well. So something as simple as coloring honestly can just kind of open new perspectives for you. So give it a try if you're not someone who really is a creative or considers themselves a creative person. I would argue that notion and say just try it out. Try it out, whether it's coloring, whether it's drawing, whether you're painting, sculpting, even if you're singing or writing or dancing. Honestly, that's all an expression of creativity. Cooking too. I encourage all of it. I think it's really healthy for you. And most people who create, from what I've experienced, they tend to be happier. They tend to have a better sense of self, and they just seem to enjoy life a little more from what I've noticed. So that's a good perspective to kind of put out there as well. So what I'm doing is I've gotten all of this bottom portion just colored in. You can see that right there. And I'm going to do some blending now. So I want to I brought a limited supply of colors. I have a bunch at home, but I'm not at home. So I brought what I could fit in my bag without carrying like 20 pounds of materials with me. So I'm going to take, let's see, I brought a lighter yellow. Let's see what this looks like. Probably going to take this pink actually. Why not? I like pink. Okay, cool. So I'm going to take this pink, and right here on this, I don't know if you can see that, but right here on this line where it kind of meets the middle, I'm going to start coloring, and I color in small, like little circular motions. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mainly concentrate first where this pink meets this yellow, because I'm going to go back over with yellow so I can blend those two. Now, this is the part where you do have to work a little quicker if you are using alcohol-based markers, because these guys dry pretty quickly. So I'm going to go in with this yellow again and just go over that pink that I added. And I'm going in circular motions. And then I'm going to give that a second to dry, and I'll go back and show you what that looks like up close. So the reason that I'm doing that is I'm going over that pink with the yellow to blend them into one another. And the cool thing about these alcohol markers is they're great for blending. You can do some really cool pieces with these markers, regardless of the brand. And that's one reason why they're a really popular medium for artists who draw a lot. So they're really good in that sense. And yes, it is easier to blend these if you have colors that are closer in range. For example, I'm blending a yellow with like a hot pink, which is ridiculous, right? That's what I have. That's what we're doing tonight. So I'm blending those two together. It's not going to be a perfect blend. And that's for the reason of, one, I'm blending yellow with hot pink. And two, also, this is a student grade marker. So if I was using something a little higher end in this case, the blend would be a little more seamless. So I would probably do maybe like a deep kind of orangey yellow and then blend that into a pink that has a little more kind of orange or red tones. And that's going to create a more seamless blend because those colors have similar properties that are going to blend better with one another versus just doing a straight yellow with a hot pink, which is fine. You can do that. No one's going to stop you. No one's stopping me right now. So you can do that. But you're going to have a little more work blending them, if that's your goal. So that is what I'm doing with this. And it's a little bit of work, just kind of going back and forth. But again, it's not hard work. It's just concentration, really. That's all that it is. So that's what we're here for tonight anyways, just to relax and color and concentrate on what we're doing. So let me show you guys this. I'm going to add one more layer of this yellow so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here. Okay. So you can see that it's kind of blending in there. And that's the technique that we're going for. I pretty much added that yellow first. I went and added a little bit of the pink overlapping that yellow. I went back with the yellow, little more pink, and then yellow again. And that's going to get you that blend. And that's pretty much how you use the alcohol markers when you are trying to blend them. A little bit of back and forth and just layering the colors to get them to kind of play and interact with each other. Now, these markers do come with a colorless alcohol blender, and pretty much in layman's term, that is just a marker like this, which has no color, no pigment. It's just isopropyl alcohol. That's all that it is. And it's colorless for the fact that you can take these guys and you can use that colorless blender to pretty much do what I did right now and blend the colors together. However, when you do that technique using those colorless blenders, you're going to also remove some of that pigment in the process because these are alcohol based. And again, alcohol is going to act as their vehicle. So you can use that to blend them, but you can also use that to take away color too. So I typically only use that colorless blender if I'm okay with removing some of that color, during that process too. So that's just kind of a little piece of advice from experience with working with these materials. Uh, let's see. Once you get that kind of intermediate blend between the two, then you can start, going upwards and adding more of your secondary color, which in this case would be the pink. So you can see that right there. I'm just kind of building that up from that case. So that's the technique with those. And the techniques regarding these alcohol markers, they're going to be the same regardless of the brand, but the results, that's what will vary depending brand to brand. So there are a lot of different options out here for brands on these guys. And like I said, sometimes student grade stuff doesn't make too much of a difference. Sometimes it does. And sometimes you do want to, splurge on the professional grade stuff. But if you're just beginning and just learning, go student grade all the way. Don't, because these guys can go upwards of $7-8 a marker. So I would say buy the inexpensive $3-4 markers, learn the techniques, learn the tips, learn the tricks, and then when you have the skills, then invest in the higher grade materials if it's something you really like. So that would be my suggestion in regards to kind of starting out with these guys, because they are pretty pricey depending on the brand, and they do have a bit of a learning curve. So it's one of those things where you pick up on it fairly easy if you practice, but it definitely does require practice. So that would be my suggestion on that. And so I'm just taking this pink and kind of bringing it up and just going with it from there. Another cool thing is you can take, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, you can take color pencils and layer it on top of these markers to blend it even more, create even more dimension, and it just looks really cool. Hi, Latonia, and then also hi to Andrea. So hi to those of us who are watching. Thank you guys for tuning in, and if y'all are working on something, let me know what you're working on. I love to see other people's creations. So if you're drawing, if you're painting, if you're coloring, what are you coloring? What are you drawing? Let me see. Write it in the chat. So, like I mentioned, tonight I'm doing mixed media on this because I love mixed media. I'm a huge sucker for mixed media work, and if I'm being honest, I seldom do a piece in just one medium. So I like to mix it up. If I do an oil painting, I'm doing an acrylic underpainting. If I do a drawing, I'm throwing in some color pencil or some marker or something in there, some paint, to kind of mix it up a bit. So it just makes it really fun. So why not do our coloring pages the same way? Why not do color pencil and marker? Or, marker and watercolor pencil. Why not? You can even throw a crayon in there too. If you have kids at home watching, you can have them color along with you too. Usually my son watches me, so hi Ronan if you're watching. If you're coloring, let me see your picture when I get home. So that's a cool activity you can add. You can bring the whole family in and just color with them and do all kinds of fun stuff. So like I mentioned earlier, creativity helps feed everything, helps feed the soul, feed the mind, the heart, makes everything fun, right? There's a reason why humans have that ability in them. So exercise it. Exercise it like you would your body. Okay, so I'll show you guys the progress so far. You can see that kind of going up. Some really cool stuff. Oops, I forgot this is not touchscreen. So guys, I'm using a different laptop today versus my iPad. And I'm used to my iPad being touchscreen. So I forgot that this is like a scroll. Here we go. Close this. Ooh, you're coloring an owl. Really cool. I love owls. So I just finished a project. I did 2 paintings a day. I did 2 speed paintings. And I painted a sea turtle and I painted a clownfish. So that was pretty fun. Animals are always a cool thing to paint or to draw. I love them. But another fun challenge that I like to do whenever I am working on something that's, not commission related or anything, I like to time myself. I like to see, how quickly and how efficiently I can do something just for fun, right? Cuz I don't know. I guess I like stuff like that, but today I finished this painting in 2 hours. So that was pretty cool. That was a fun little record that I beat competing against myself here. But I'm bringing this up and let's work on some of the little detail things here. Let's move away from the background for a moment because I'm limited to an hour and I want to color some of these fun little things here while I'm on screen. So one of the other markers that I brought here today is going to be a Tombow marker, and that is a watercolor marker. So when I say vehicle, I'm referring to the solution, the solvent, or the base in that product that helps make it move pretty much. So vehicle in art terms is going to be what makes it move. So for example, these markers, the vehicle is going to be alcohol. That makes it move, that makes it blend, that takes it away, that rejuvenates it. That's what it is. For these markers, their vehicle is going to be water. So these are water-based markers. And the cool thing about these little Tombows is that they also have 2 ends. They're going to have the brush point end, and then they're going to have the bullet point end. These guys also come with a colorless blender as well. It's pretty much a marker with water in it. No pigment, just water. And you can use that to help blend and work with that also. So I'm going to show you guys some techniques with these guys while I have them out here. So I have a little mushroom down here. And the fun thing about these Tombows is the brush point on them is really, really fine point. So you can really get into these super small spaces. And if you're careful enough, you can stay inside the lines. Sometimes I get outside the lines. I'm not even going to lie to you guys, but I try really, really hard not to. So let me show you how this marker makes it all the more easier. Look at that. That is, let me turn it upside for you guys. Small. Look how tiny those lines are. This marker helps you get into all that. So it's very cool in that sense. I will say this too. I should have mentioned this earlier, but if you're coloring inside your book for these monthly coloring books, I would suggest if you don't take your pages out of the book, put a piece of paper, a piece of scrap paper or something, if you're using markers, put it in between the piece that you're working on. So for example, let's say I'm coloring this page, put a piece of scrap paper behind it, because these markers, they do bleed through. They have a lot of juice, so they're going to just bleed through, and you don't want to ruin the other pages of your coloring book. So definitely put something in between or just remove it from the book when you're doing that. And yeah, you won't have any problems with that. But if you're coloring on top of something, be sure it's a piece of scratch paper or the back of the book or a surface that you're not too, you don't care if it gets, some marker on it or not, because they do bleed through, like I mentioned, especially the more you blend, the more you layer them. So I'm going to take the red again, and I brought a pink one too. So at least I brought colors that blend, right? I do think sometimes. So I'm going to take this red and I'm going to color the outside of the mushroom cap, but I'm going to leave the inside blank right now because I'm going to show you guys how to blend with these, and I want to leave that open to show y'all. So coloring in, and with these, you can use, so all of these markers have a kind of technique that you want to do whenever you're coloring with them, and usually it's in small, like little circular motions like that if you're coloring details and tiny things. And that's no different with these tombos. I'm just coloring in small circular motions because that's going to help create an even concentrated finish with this. So otherwise, if I'm coloring just up and down and side to side, it's going to be really streaky and it's not going to look quite as nice versus if I actually took the time to sit here and concentrate, and color in a circle. So that's kind of my advice for these little guys too. So I'm taking that red and I just colored to about the center of that mushroom cap, and I'm gonna come in with this pink. I don't even know what shade I grabbed. Let's hope it works, right? So I'm gonna take this, it's really light. Okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna take this pink and I'm going to start with the center because the center is where I want it to be the pinkest. And I'm going to make my way out to the edges to where I can meet that red. Now, once I meet that red, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the Copic. I mean, not the Copic, the other alcohol marker, and just blend into it. And I'm going in circular motions. So I'm going in circular motions to help connect the two colors together. And you will notice if you're working with tombos that as you blend over the two, the paper is going to get wet pretty quickly. And again, that's because these are water-based markers. They have a lot of juice in them. So it's going to, it's going to do what water does. That's okay. You just want to make sure you work in sections and you work enough to where you don't completely overwhelm your paper with product. So I'm going to bring that in so you guys can see. So I don't know if you can tell on camera. It's really subtle, but it makes a huge difference in person when you have that red outer edge, and then in the center, it's that pink color that I blended into the red. And that pink, because of the nature of these brushes, it took on the properties of the red marker because that red is so much more intense. And that's what I wanted. It really gave a really subtle but noticeable difference in the mushroom. And that's one way that you can kind of help add dimension and definition to your pieces. And you can do that if you're really getting into it. You can do that with any of your anything that you're drawing or coloring. And that's why I love these markers, because there's just so many coloring possibilities you can do, and it goes beyond just, oh, it's a strawberry, color it all red. You can really add a lot of dimension with it, and that using techniques like this. So that's going to dry up a little bit, and I'm going to let that dry. And let's see, what else can we color on here? Let's break into these color pencils. I'm going to show you guys some things with that. So I have, like I mentioned earlier, I have two different brands here. And I'm going to go with the brand that's a little more sharpened right now because I forgot to bring my sharpener. I'm sure Brittany has one laying around here, but that would require me to get up, and I'm really doing that right now. We're relaxing and coloring. Who wants to get up, right? So I'm going to grab one of these sharper pencils, and I'm going to show some techniques with these guys. So let's see, what do I want? I'm going to get some, let's do some blues. Why not? So I have this light baby blue here, and I'm going to start off. Again, I'm going to use the same kind of technique, just coloring in small circular motions. That's kind of the rule of the game here. And the reason that I'm starting off with a lighter touch with these is because it's always easier to add than it is to take away. And that's a good rule of thumb with anything. So, for example, I could come in and press really hard using these, but I won't be able to take any of that pigment away afterwards. So I'm going to be stuck with whatever I do, and, maybe I don't like how it turns out. Versus if I color in with a lighter touch, I can go in and add more layers of different colors and create tones and create tints. And that's how you can really kind of build dimension when you are working with color pencils. So that's a piece of advice I would offer you in that sense. So I started off with that light layer of blue. Let's see if, you can see that on camera. So I started off with that blue, and let's make this blue kind of like an aquamarine sort of color. So I'm gonna grab this. It's called emerald green. It doesn't look emerald to me, but who says I'm right? So I'm gonna come in with this color and I'm going to lightly layer it over that blue color. I am pressing slightly harder, nothing crazy, but just a little bit harder to kind of get that color in there a bit more. And again, I'm going in with those circular motions and just coloring that and building those in layers. So I know a few artists who their primary medium is color pencils. And I've seen these guys spend upwards of, gosh, like 16 hours on a drawing. I've even seen some upwards of more than 24 hours, of course, not consecutively, but, you know, working on a piece. And that's when you really get into the depth of color pencils, because it has a huge following. They're wildly popular in the art community, and for good reason too. They're really fun. They allow you a lot of artistic freedom. They're easily accessible. They're great for traveling, super easy to clean up. So I totally get their popularity because they make for a great medium to kind of introduce yourself into art if you're just kind of getting into it, or you want to casually get into it, or if you just want to pick up a pack of color pencils and become like an art beast overnight. Well, not overnight, but in your own right. So I went in with that green, and I'm going to go back in with that first blue that I did, which was that baby blue color. And this time I'm going to actually go a little harder with it. So I'm going to take it, and again, circular motion, press that on top of that green that I added, and just really push that pigment in there. Now, when you are using color pencils, there are a lot of different brands on the market. There's going to be professional grade, student grade. You'll have different types of color pencils. So there's a lot out there. And depending on what it is that you want to do, I'm going in with like a darker blue now and I'm outlining it. So depending on what it is that you want to do is going to determine what brand really works best for you. So like I mentioned earlier, this is a student grade brand. It's called Soho. They're really affordable. I like them for just casual coloring. I like them for sketching things. Sometimes I'll sketch my paintings out before I actually paint them and I'll use a color pencil. I like them for things like that. I like them for layering too. They're good in that sense as well. And like I mentioned too, they're pretty affordable. So you can get like a pack of 72 for a really good price. And despite, unless you're a color pencil artist or an artist by trade, you may be a little bit surprised by the prices of some of these guys. I've seen color pencil packs that, a pack of, let's see, 72 to 120, those can go upwards of a couple $100s in price, depending on the brand you go with. So, again, art supplies are not cheap. They aren't cheap. And if anyone thinks they are, visit your local art store and find out for yourself. So, you'll find out really quickly that these guys, regardless of the brand or the type of medium, the cost adds up really quick, unfortunately. So I went in with that blue and I added an outline around this paisley design. And now I'm going back in with that first blue that I started with, and I just added one last layer. And you can see how there's some dimension with that. And that's one technique that you can use to kind of just blend and build up and make it a little more interesting versus just coloring it like a flat blue, which you can do if that's what you want to do. But this is a technique that you can use to just build a little more intensity with it. So that's something that you can do. And let's see, what else can we color? I'm gonna color one of these little green things, but I'm going to show you guys how you can layer that color pencil on top of that marker, okay? Don't mind my giant water bottle, by the way, okay? I'm thirsty. So I gotta stay hydrated. Okay, and I'm going in with, I wish I had a lighter green, but I don't. So I'm gonna go in with this one, and this is one of the Tombow markers. So I'm gonna go in with the brush tip, and these markers are really cool to do calligraphy with too. If anyone out there likes to do scriptures or calligraphy or writing, these guys are fun for that. I'm terrible at it, but you may not be. We can't be good at everything, right? And calligraphy is not one of my strong points. So, oh well. At least I can color, kind of. So, I'm taking this brush tip and I'm just going in and coloring these little leaves, just one by one. And the Tombows take a little bit of time to dry, not a crazy amount, maybe like a couple minutes, if that. So I'm gonna give it some time to dry before I go over it with a color pencil, because I don't want to tear my paper. That's something you don't want to do. If you are doing mixed media, be sure that you allow, depending on the mediums, that you allow them that proper time to kind of dry in between, because if you don't, you could tear your paper and that is going to really suck. So I apologize to you if that happens. So I'm warning you so it doesn't happen, okay? Don't say I didn't warn you, because I did. So I'm going in and finishing that one up. And then we'll give that a couple minutes to dry and we'll come back to it later, okay? So let's see. I don't know if I do. So I don't have a marker color to color this mushroom, but I have color pencils, so let's do that. I'm gonna take this kind of peach sort of color and start to color the stem on this guy. And I'm doing just like an even stroke around on this. You don't always have to color in a circular motion, depending on how large the surface you're coloring. Sometimes I go up and down, but you just want to make sure that whatever direction that you're coloring in, you color in evenly throughout. Because if you don't, that's when you'll start to notice the streakiness or something not really being blended too well, and that's when the problems will kind of arise. So I'm going over this with a brown shade, and in circular motions, I'm doing the sides, and then I'm going to go back in with that peach color. So depending on the type of color pencil you're using as well, a lot of these brands come with their own, again, colorless blender. So those colorless blenders, depending if your color pencil is pigment based or if it is wax based, will be just either a wax stick or a stick with no pigment in it. And you'll take that and you'll just kind of blend over it. But again, they're not necessary. It's just another tool that you can utilize if you buy a kit and it comes with one, or if you see those at the store. That's what those are for. So with this, the more layers that I add, the easier the blending does become. And you'll notice that yourself too, if you're working with these color pencils, or any color pencil really, is the more layers you add up, the smoother the paper gets, and the easier it is to kind of add that color and blend them in. And again too, that's why I suggest working with a softer pressure at first and then building that up, because your paper, even if it feels really smooth, like this is a hot press paper, which means that it has a smooth finish. So even if your paper feels really smooth, there's still if you took a microscope and zoomed in, there's like microscopic texture to it. And that small amount of texture, sometimes it's a lot of texture if you're working on a cold press, is what really is what your mediums stick to. So if you're using color pencil, it's most of the times like a wax based product, and that's what the wax and the pigment is essentially getting pushed into. So if you go right off the back, really like hard with a hard pressure, you're gonna just kind of eradicate all that texture on your paper, and you'll find that it's actually gonna make blending a little harder for you in the long run. So I would suggest start off with a smoother pressure and then gradually build that up as you go on with your layers, because that's going to be easier for you in that case. And this is what we have so far. So you see that texture going on there on that mushroom? How I just blended those two colors in. Okay, I'm going to add another color because why not? So I'm going to add this light yellow and just layer that over the entire mushroom stem. And this is what I would call adding like a tint to it. And you can do this with paint. You can do this with, you can't really do it with markers too much, but you can. It's just a little trickier. But with something like a color pencil, I can add that yellow tint, and you can see it in the middle, how it just really kind of added a lot of volume to that. And that's the fun part about art, is the more techniques you learn, the more personalized you can make your drawings and your colorings and just kind of really play around with things. So to add some depth to that, I'm going to take a deeper color. This is a burnt umber shade. Burnt umber is going to be one of the staple colors in any art medium you use. So whether you're using acrylics or oils or watercolors, anything, they're always going to have a burnt umber. It's a really good color to just have and utilize. Burnt umber is a great shade to add a sense of like a touch of realism to your paintings or your drawings. So for example, let's say this works better for painting because you can mix them. Let's say you're painting a piece and you have a color like a blue or a red or something, or you're painting a skin tone or a sky, and you're like, oh, it's really vivid, but it's too vivid. It doesn't look real if you're going for that. You don't have to be going for real, but if you are, using a color like burnt umber is a really good technique to kind of tone it down a bit, just a small amount, tone it down a bit, and then it's going to make your colors look more realistic. So same applies for color pencils. Of course, the blending is going to be a little bit different. So I took in that burnt umber, and I'm going to blend that into that red shade a bit too, actually, on the mushroom itself. And I'm actually going to draw some of the lines on the stem of the mushroom too. And I'll show you guys what that's looking like now. So you can see that. It's really coming to life now. So that's a technique and in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some white and add that, just a small amount, towards the center of the mushroom to help create a bit of a highlight too. And you can see that right now. So there we go. You can see that. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to take, let's see. How pale is this blue? I'm going to take a really, really light blue marker and just color in those little circles. Just because I feel if I used white, it really wouldn't stand out too much. And we're going to take, I have white here in Prismacolor. I'm going to take that again and just really add that final highlight to it. And there you have it. Now, if you have markers, like acrylic markers or paint markers or something like that, you can even take that and add highlights on top of it if you feel so inclined to. So that's another technique that you can do to make some really cool stuff. So I'm going to take that and move on from that one. I'm going to go back to the leaves that I colored because that's completely dry now. And I'm going to take a yellow and I'm going to layer that on top. And because the screen is so dark, you're not really going to see too much of a difference on camera, but in person is where you'll really notice the difference. So I'll try this again with a lighter marker to really show you guys. Yeah, because that's not registering too well. So let's try this with, we're going to do one of these pinks actually. I'm going to take this really pale pink right here. I'm just going to color in this heart. There we go. That's going to show up really well. And then I'll be able to go over that with color pencil and show you guys how to blend those two. So taking that, I'll let that dry for a couple of minutes and then I'll go back with this first pink and just add a little more to the background. So like I mentioned, these pages are really intricate. They have a lot of details to them, and obviously it's not something you can finish within an hour. They're not really intended to be finished within an hour. These are more so meditative pieces that you just kind of sit with and work on at your leisure or whenever you have your free time, or if you want to de-stress, have your, whatever day is your designated day for yourself. If you have that, that's what these pieces are for in these coloring books. And these are the adult monthly coloring books from the Pop Shop America Etsy page. And again, they're themed usually for the month, depending if there's a holiday in that month or not. And this one for February is themed for, Valentine's Day and love and all of that. So that's what we're working on here today. Again, I mentioned earlier in the stream towards the beginning that there is a discount code for the next 24 hours. And that's going to get you 15% off anything on the Etsy page. That discount code is going to be Craft with Alex. Let me write that. I have another device here. I'm going to write that in the chat for you guys. So Craft with Alex. And that's going to get you 15% off on the Etsy page. Okay, so I just added that to the chat. That should be visible. And that's going to be CraftWithAlex. So that's Craft with Alex. That gets you 15% off anything on the website. It doesn't have to be these coloring books. It can be the kits. It could be subscription boxes. It could be, anything that's on the Etsy page. That's going to get you 15% off of it, okay? And that's active for the next 24 hours. So take advantage of that. You can buy yourself a gift, buy your friends a gift, buy your family, whoever you want to buy for. But that's going to get you 15% off of that for the next 24 hours. So tonight's stream, we're getting close towards the hour, towards the end of it. But I do want to go over some of the other streams that we have coming up because we do these on Thursdays. So Thursdays we do the free streams on the Facebook group page, the YouTube channel, and then the Twitch channel. However, we do have paid workshops available too if you want a little more one-on-one kind of concentrated learning experience. We have those available too. So I have those dates written down. Let me find them. I write a lot of notes, guys, so please excuse me. Oh, well, I guess I didn't write that much because I found them already. So what we have coming up is, today's the 23rd, we had our Relax and Color today. So we have a Relax and Color live stream once a month. So if you missed it today and you want to tune in live next month, we're going to have one of those too. So definitely join us for that. We have that coming up. Let's see what else I have actually. I have these on my calendar. So let me just pull that up for you guys because I have the wrong dates here. So we have coming up a felt flowers virtual workshop. That's going to be March 9th. And that's going to be one of the free workshops that we have available for you guys. Those are going to be from 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursday. So that's March 9th. I'm going to show you guys how to make flower bouquets out of felt. So that little material that feels like cloth, that's what I'm going to be doing that for you guys. Following that, let's see. We have a couple more workshops coming up, but trying to see them on the calendar. I think Brittany's changing some dates around. She usually, she's really good about making the event pages for that, so she's going to get those posted as well too. If you follow Pop Shop America on Facebook, there's an additional crafting page, a crafting group, and that's going to have everything posted in it. So it's going to have dates, events. The YouTube channel also has that as well too. So, oh, here we go. Okay. So we have a candle making workshop coming up. And that one is going to be March 3rd. So that is going to be one of the paid events. So that one you do have to pay to join, and you can sign up on that on the Etsy page. And that we're going to be doing a candle making class. So I'm going to teach you guys how to make your own candles with essential oils and soy wax from beginning to end. So that is a paid class, but we do have that coming up on March 3rd. And again, you can sign up for that on the Etsy page. So popshopamerica.com on Etsy. So that's where you can, or Pop Shop America on Etsy. That's where you can find it. So we have that one coming up. And let's see, we also have, we have more coming up. And I had all of these on my calendar, but I'm having a little problem getting my calendar up right now. I'm sorry, guys. It's always a technical issue, one way or another, right? So we do have all of these available again on the Facebook page, the craft page. So Pop Shop America Craft with Us, I believe is the name of it. Let me find it. I will pull that up and show you guys. Here we go. Yeah, let's craft together. So this is the page. Let's craft together. Y'all can see that. So you can send a request to join, and that's going to have all of the free events coming up. It's also going to have links to the pages to sign up for the paid events, and it's going to have all that information too. So it's going to be kind of like your resource center for everything. And then we have the YouTube page too. So I know everyone has YouTube. If you don't have the group on Facebook, then you can definitely find us on YouTube. So there we go. And again, tonight's stream is active. Has an active code for the next 24 hours. Craft with Alex that gets you 15% off of everything or anything on the website. I'm sorry. So anything on the Etsy page, that's going to get you 15% off, and take advantage of it. So for the next 24 hours. But I went over a lot today. There is playback, and I believe the audio is good this time. So I didn't hear anybody or I didn't see anyone typing in the box. I can't hear you. So I think we got it solved. Finally. It only took us a few streams, but it's okay. It's okay, right? Because there's always a solution to the problem, right? So we found it. That's good. We got to figure it out. I hope you guys had fun coloring with me tonight. I had fun coloring with you, even though I didn't finish my drawing. I never do, but it's okay. It's not meant to be finished in an hour. So tune in again on the Facebook page. We're going to have the events posted so you can follow us and then be in the loop when the next one's coming up. So again, the next one is going to be that felt flower workshop though. So next Thursday, you can take a look at that. And if anything changes, we always post that as well too. So sometimes life gets in the way and we have to postpone or reschedule an event. That's okay. So we'll let you know if that happens also. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great Thursday night. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for drawing with me, painting with me, coloring with me, creating with me. My name is Alexis, and I hope to see you guys next week, okay? Have a great night. Thank you. my god, I forgot it wasn't touchscreen.